Hi, welcome to Tech Ranch, a place where we learn and earn technical skills in the most efficient way. Let's make coding fun. Java Coding Exercise Series 1, Exercise 3, Star Number Pattern. So in this session, we are going to see how to program star number pattern in Java using control statements. So what we are going to see here, the pattern, the logic, the solution and the practice with live coding demonstration. So before we get into the star number pattern, first we have to understand what are the objective of these type of patterns. When we have to work on these patterns, this helps to understand and practice how to create a logic using control statements. So in Java, we have learned about the control statements. We have if conditions, for loop, while loop, do while loop. So all these control statements help us to implement these type of patterns in the number of ways, create a logic. So star number pattern. So let's take an example of this pyramid display and see how we can create a logic and implement this type of problems. So as you can see, first thing first, what we have to do, we have to fill up the space of this particular pattern and make a completed in a access form. Now next step, what we have to do, we have to divide into two sections. One is called row and another one is called column. So the red square, you can see this is nothing but the rows of a pattern, and the blue square, it's basically nothing but the columns. Now these columns and rows are going to run in a particular loop. So this will help you to initiate and put the condition and execute, increment or decrement or whatever type of operator you want to have it in your logic. Now in this case, in this type of pattern, the pyramid pattern where the values are in the middle, so we have to fill it up with the space. So we need a variable to fill it up space and we called it space. Now filling space is basically when it is an incremented value or decremented value, you have to first complete it with a number of rows or number of columns here. So when we have rows and columns and running in specific variable in a loop, like I was running in a rows and K is running in a columns, is taking care of columns. So first thing, like this space is called I equals to 1 and K equals to 1, and this is fill it up with space. So here you can see I1 and space is 1, so space is filling and K is equals to 1. So this is how we are going to have the condition. So since the value of space is incrementing, so we have to have the incremented loop and put the space on it. So this is how we create a logic out of these patterns. When we see the values are increasing, we have to print it there, and when we see the values are decreasing or having a space, there we will put the decrement order or condition using while loops. Don't stick to any specific form, like okay, the for loop is always good to use here. You can use do while loop. You can use do while loop where the statements execute first and then we have the incremented value and putting the condition. And while loop is for putting the condition first and then making an increment operator. So these are the differences we have to practice while we work on these type of pattern problems. So as you can see here, what I'm doing, I is incrementing and K is incrementing, and execution of the statements is like printing the star pattern here. This is how it's gonna. First iteration, there are spaces. Second iteration, there is another space in the rows. Fourth iteration, third iteration, there is another space. So this is how it will work. And you can see, let's take a look at the live coding and demonstration of these type of pattern problems. So this is my Eclipse IDE, and let's first thing first, we need to have a class file. Pyramid pattern demo is my class name. Have a main method. So let's start implementing the pattern. Okay, pyramid pattern demo, and we have a main method. Inside the main method you can do two ways. Since we are going to have the pyramid pattern for star and number separately, so we can do one thing. We can just call a method public void star pattern, and another method public void number pattern. Since the pattern is in the pyramid, which is going to be at the same logic, all we have to just have a number print, so we are going to have the same logic here. And let's start. So first thing first, we need to have the user so that we can initialize the number of rows in a pattern for a limit, which we are going to use with the help of the scanner. So scanner class input equals new scanner class system in. Next, system dot or dot print and enter the limit, right, and get the value from the user and initialize to any variable. Suppose I gave n or rows, or basically this is going to be specified for the rows. So let's have rows equals input dot next int. Okay, so here we have initialized a variable for rows. Now let's start for the loop. First loop for the rows, which is going to be used by int I equals 1, initialized, declare an initialized, and putting the condition equals to r. R is your rows, and increment by rows. And once this is initialized, I put the condition and the increment. Next loop will be for your space. So space is initialized by 1, and you need to declare, and the condition for space, since it is incrementing, so you need to count the rows and decrease by the pointer of where it is currently positioned, and then space will be incremented. Now next, we need to have a space filling, and this loop is closed. Now next loop is for your printing star, so that is going to be controlled by the variable k. So let's initialize, and since we have to first execute the condition, so we are going to have the twice of I minus 1. Now, and here we are going to print the star, and we'll give one space here and increment it by a variable of k. So once this done, the condition is true, the k will be initialized to 0 again, and here print ln, just to have a new line, a new row. So as you can see, where here we have initialized our variables int I and k and space. So let's first initialize here, otherwise okay. So what's that? K is not initialized, so let's initialize it to 1. space is not initialized, it is initialized here. So this is how it's gonna be for star. The same logic is going to be done for number. So let's copy paste here, and instead of star, all we have to print k or I. Now all we need to create an object of pattern demo1. Okay, it's pyramid pattern demo1. P equals to the constructor, and we call the method number pattern or star pattern. And let's execute into the limit. So now why it is happening? Because we have an ln here. You see, ln will be mentioned for the new line, so we don't need the new lines, right? So let's try one more time. You see, it's the same issue here. Now, as you can see here, it is still not correct. The reason the k is initialized to 1. Let's have it 0 first, and let's execute it again. Now you see the difference. Here the k is equals to 1. So you see, this is how we can debug and you can make it work. Now, what we are expecting here, there's so many ways you can do it. You can even have it k here, which will print your exact number pattern, what you are looking for, like this. You see, this is what we need to print. So this is how we can work. First we come up with the logic, and then we implement it. For pyramid, star and number pattern. For practice, you can come up with some kind of these pattern printing. You can see, you can make a hollow pyramid or hollow diamond print, or the diamond number print, or star print. So these are the examples. More practice, this will help you to understand how to create a logic. So next session we'll see about palindrome. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for more upcoming interesting practice coding exercises. Let's make coding fun. Thank you.